Hi, today I want to address one of my favorite topics, engine swapping. I've done more than I can count. There's two in the garage here right now. I got one outside and probably a dozen, maybe even 2 dozen of these cars out there. Um, and how I got started was through education. I have a book here I'll show you in a minute. I got that back when I was a teenager and I'll show you anyways. This book has pretty much been worn out. I've memorized this book practically and it's amazing, but we'll get to that in a minute. I also want to talk about what's available. I mean, that today is a different thing than it was 20, 30 years ago. Now there's a lot of aftermarket available. You can buy pretty much everything you need for a lot of the swaps that are out there. The swaps that I typically like are ones where you have to fabricate things because I find it more interesting. It's more fun, and you have something really cool and unique in the end. And I typically don't like a lot of electronics. When I'm tuning my car, I don't want to be looking at a laptop. Uh, I mean, I might have an electronic distributor, but that even bugs me. I'd rather have no electronics in my car whatsoever. So that's just me. But there is a lot of aftermarket available today. You can put an LS into whatever you want nowadays. And again, I'm not a fan of that, but I prefer the old stuff. But anyways, I'm just gonna grab my phone here so I can show you a few things. Man, is it cold in here. But anyways, this is my engine swapping book collection. That's my favorite one I just mentioned. Practical Engine Swapping by John Fowley. Highly recommend that book. If you can find a copy of it, buy it. Don't hesitate. Even if it's like a super weird price on Amazon or something or other, just get it. It's worth it. Then I have some other ones here. Peterson's Engine Swapping, Complete Book of Engine Swapping, Peterson's Complete Book of Engine Swapping, and where'd that go? Little Hot Rod Engine Swaps book. I mean, these other books have some specific applications in there. Like this one has one on a Pinto. Doesn't give you that much information, but it does highlight that. But if you're looking to start, this book is gold. I'm just going to show you a table of contents. Like, I mean, discusses why swap, what to do before you swap, will it fit? And of course, you can get any engine into any car, but what do you have in the end? You have a shell over top of a tube chassis, or something like this where it's pretty much a stock car with a big engine in it, right? Kind of depends on what you're going to do. Like I mentioned before, there's a lot of hardware you can buy. Engine mounts, exhaust. And exhaust can be kind of tricky, especially in that car behind you that I just showed you. Rear axle swapping. And it's kind of nice to find an axle or differential that'll actually swap into the car. Like this Pinto, I got an 8-inch out of a Mustang too, and it bolts right in. It's beautiful. But over here underneath, I'll show you this one. This is an 8.8 out of an Explorer under this Bobcat, and the brakes are off of a 69 T-Bird. Got 9-inch ends on it. So I have a lot invested in this differential, a lot of welding and measuring and everything else. So it depends on how far you want to go with it. Oil system problems, oil pans. Sometimes you need to have a remote oil filter, or with this Pinto, I'll keep using it for an example, but you notice it's really close down there to the header. So what I did, I just got a really short oil filter, it works. Then we got, cooling system problems. That could be a huge problem in a small engine bay. Clutch linkage, and that could be a nightmare, let me tell you. Using a hydraulic clutch makes it much easier. Throttle linkage. When it comes to throttle linkage, try to find one that's, factory Ford or GM or whatever. The aftermarket ones usually suck. And if you do find one, get the really good ones. Don't get the made in China ones. Trust me on that. Shifter linkage, electrical considerations, drive shafts. Drive shafts, yeah. I used to, cheap out and cut my own and weld them up, and I never really had any problems, but the last couple times I've actually had it done at a drive shaft shop, and I don't know, you have peace of mind knowing that it's a strong piece, and it's very rewarding to pick that up after you brought in the parts for them and they made it to your specs. But suspension and steering, well, you might have some clearance problems. You know, that's something to consider. Four-wheel drive, yeah, I've been there. That went outside the four-wheel drive, and you get multiple drive shafts and all kinds of fun stuff to deal with, and cost guide. So, of course, these things can get very expensive. But what I wanted to do here is show you that anybody can get started doing this. But the first step is to learn about it. So that's what I recommend. Take care. Bye-bye.